Until you just mentioned it, it's not even something that I even think about. It was so strange. It was so strange. I was in Italy getting confirmed by a cardinal, and that I was so excited about it. And it was just, it's weird because it's the president of the United States. And it's something that maybe you would expect to see if you're in high school and people, shame on you. This is not a good look for you. And I don't have that. I don't wake up every day wondering if the president thinks I'm pretty. That's just not a part of my life.
Well, as many enemies as you have, they give you a lot.
Everybody, welcome back. Today's story pulled me in from the very beginning. I found myself stopping the video, replaying certain moments, and laughing out loud more than once. A few times I even leaned back thinking, did that really just happen? Candace Owens shares a side of herself that many people rarely get to see. The conversation feels personal, funny, and surprisingly open. She talks about experiences I hadn't heard before, and several of them completely changed my expectations. The balance between honesty and her trademark dry humor makes this interview stand out in a way that could surprise longtime supporters, critics, and curious viewers alike.
Well, dude, I've been nervous to meet you.
Really?
Fuck yeah, I'm nervous to meet you.
I feel like I'm
I don't want to get on your bad side.
Me?
Me? Little old me?
Sounds like there's some rumors out there about me I gotta clear up. I'm so nice. I'm so friendly.
There's plenty to break down here, and we're only scratching the surface. Before we jump into everything, let me point out 3 moments that instantly grabbed my attention. The first one is especially hard to ignore. A story involving an AI-generated Time magazine cover aimed at a well-known podcaster became part of a much larger conversation. At the same time, Candace says she was in a chapel in Rome taking part in a deeply meaningful religious ceremony led by a cardinal. The timing alone makes the story fascinating, and we'll look at why it sparked so much discussion. Then there's another memorable moment when Candace casually explains that she never spends time worrying about whether the president finds her attractive. She says it so naturally that it becomes one of the most talked about parts of the interview. Listen carefully to how she delivers it, because her tone says just as much as the words themselves. What makes that moment so memorable isn't outrage or dramatic reactions. Instead, she speaks with complete composure, almost as if she's chatting with a friend over coffee. That calm delivery gives the conversation its impact. It doesn't feel rehearsed or exaggerated. It simply feels like she's saying exactly what she believes.
Well, dude, I've been nervous to meet you.
Really?
Fuck yeah, I'm nervous to meet you.
I feel like I'm
I don't want to get on your bad side.
Me?
Me? Little old me?
Sounds like there's some rumors out there about me I gotta clear up. I'm so nice. I'm so friendly.
Well, me and our mutual friend Dana had a lot of conversations. I was like, I don't know. I don't want to wind up on her bad side. She always spoke very highly of you, so.
It's interesting to think about that, like what people think about you before they meet you, because obviously, as you know, there's always going to be like the caricature, you know what I mean? And so we obviously have to rely on, I don't know, articles, what you hear, what's happening. And I guess there's always that moment where you're like, I wonder if it meets what I think I know about her.
It didn't.
It didn't.
Wait.
But even before those headlines come up, the interview begins with something completely unexpected and genuinely entertaining. The podcast host, known for his military background, steady personality, and confident interviews, openly admits that he was nervous before meeting Candace Owens. That short confession may sound simple at first, but it opens the door to a much bigger story. Once you understand the context, that opening moment becomes even more interesting. There's far more going on beneath the surface than it first appears. Before we get into the clips themselves, it's worth setting the stage. This podcast attracts an audience that follows current events closely and appreciates direct conversations. The host has built a strong reputation over the years by inviting influential guests and asking straightforward questions without unnecessary distractions. He's known for staying calm under pressure, which makes his admission about feeling nervous all the more surprising. Candace Owens has become one of the most recognizable and widely discussed media personalities of the past decade. Whether people agree with her or not, few would argue that she leaves a lasting impression. She's known for speaking directly, challenging ideas head-on, and rarely backing away from difficult conversations.
But let me start you off with an introduction, not that you need one, right? Candace Owens, you're a political commentator, author, and independent journalist known for challenging mainstream narratives and tackling controversial issues. Over the past decade, you've become one of the most influential voices in all of media, building a massive audience through your commentary and investigative reporting. Today, through your independent platform, you continue to cover politics, culture, and current events while questioning official narratives and sparking national debate. And most importantly, you're a Catholic.
Most importantly, I'm a Catholic, a mother, a wife.
That's right.
Careful wording and firm opinions have become part of her public image, and many people already know what to expect before she even enters the room. That's what makes the beginning of this interview work so well. Instead of opening with controversy or bold headlines, it starts with an honest reaction from someone who clearly respects Candace but also admits to feeling a little uncertain before meeting her. That simple moment immediately makes the conversation feel more genuine and sets the tone for everything that follows. From there, the discussion gradually unfolds into a series of stories, observations, and unexpected moments that keep getting more interesting as the interview moves forward. He walked into the interview looking noticeably nervous, and you could almost feel the tension before the conversation even began. But by the time it wrapped up, his entire attitude had changed. He came away clearly impressed, and that shift is obvious within the first few minutes. The opening is entertaining from the start. Without holding back, he admits,
Candace, you faced intense public criticism, particularly accusations of disloyalty to the Black community and the Christian community for holding independent views. How do you maintain your composure and stay grounded in who you are when those attacks get personal?
I don't know that I pay too much attention to the criticism that's lobbed at me anymore, only because it's constant. And if I spent every day worried about what other people were thinking about me or allowing them to define who I am, I wouldn't get out of bed. And I've got 4 toddlers at home, so I just shut that entire part of my life off. And people are very surprised by that, but it truly doesn't impact me. I know who I am, so I don't have to go to the internet to learn about who I am.
You legit, it doesn't bother you at all?
No, it genuinely doesn't bother me at all. I'm definitely, I think, battle hardened. I think over time, maybe when I was just getting started, I felt, I don't know, maybe a twinge of that's not fair, that's not true. But when you have substance in your life, like real substance, and you're not swimming in your own insecurities, meaning when I first got started, I wasn't married. I didn't have, I didn't have my family. I didn't have kids relying on me. So life is just so much more substance now, so real.
Hell yeah, I'm nervous to meet you. I don't want to end up on your bad side. Candace immediately smiles and jokingly replies, Me? Little old me? It's perfect timing. She clearly understands the reputation that follows her, but instead of taking it too seriously, she has fun with it. She acknowledges it while keeping the mood light, making the exchange feel natural and funny. The host then mentions a mutual friend, believed to be Dana Loesch, who had spoken very highly of Candace before they met. Even after hearing those positive recommendations, he still admits he felt a little uneasy walking into the interview. That says a lot. This wasn't someone relying only on headlines or social media discussions. He already had trusted people telling him positive things, yet he still expected a challenging first meeting. That highlights just how strong Candace's public image has become over the years. People often expect someone intense and difficult, but when they instead meet someone relaxed, quick-witted, and approachable, it creates an unexpected contrast that leaves a lasting impression. That first conversation quickly changes the atmosphere. What could have been a tense interview turns into something comfortable, funny, and easygoing. Their chemistry feels genuine, and it's obvious they connected well before the cameras even started rolling. They mention having dinner beforehand, and that earlier meeting seems to have helped build the relaxed dynamic that carries through the entire interview.
Yeah, and then I see the Time magazine cover thing that Trump posted about you.
Oh, gosh.
Tweeting about you.
Yeah, that was a moment.
All of your enemies.
Right.
You have a lot of enemies.
I can't even believe that I forgot about the Trump thing, the Trump tweet.
You forgot about it?
Yeah, until you just mentioned it, it's not even something that I even think about. It was so strange. It was so strange. I was in Italy getting confirmed by a cardinal, and that I was so excited about it. And it's weird because it's the President of the United States. And it's something that maybe you would expect to see if you're in high school and people are trying to like find ways to hurt you. But, when the President of the United States is like, you're fat, you're ugly, that it just feels weird. It was just very strange.
Well, it is weird.
It's weird. Objectively, I thought it was very strange. And I don't have.
Did he forget he started a war?
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that a little more important than fucking generating AI Time magazine cover photos about podcasters?
Once the playful jokes settle down, the host smoothly moves into a more formal introduction, preparing viewers for the discussion ahead. Then comes one of the funniest moments in the opening. The host spends several minutes introducing Candace with genuine admiration. He highlights her work as a political commentator, author, independent journalist, and one of the most recognizable voices in today's media landscape. He also praises her investigative reporting and the impact she has had throughout her career. Then, after listing all those accomplishments, he pauses before adding, "And most importantly, you are a Catholic." The room immediately breaks into laughter, including Candace herself. It's one of those moments that lands perfectly because of the way the introduction was carefully built up.
And until you just mentioned it, it's just not even something that I even think about. It was so strange. It was so strange. I was in Italy getting confirmed by a cardinal, and that I was so excited about it. And it's weird because it's the President of the United States. And it's something that maybe you would expect to see if you're in high school and people are trying to like find ways to hurt you. But when the President of the United States is like, you're fat, you're ugly, that it just feels weird. It was just very strange.
Well, it is weird.
It's weird. Objectively, I thought it was very strange. And I don't have.
Did he forget he started a war?
Yeah, I know.
Isn't that a little more important than fucking generating AI Time magazine cover photos about podcasters?
And beyond that, just kind of basically saying you're ugly is just, there's something so elementary about it. I'm just not in high school. That's not something that I wake up every day and wonder, does the President of the United States think I'm hot or not? There's something about it like that's just like, okay, he's got a type and he said Brigitte Macron's hotter than me. He's allowed. It's a free country, Yeah. That was definitely a moment where I was going, this is
The joke works because it reflects something that has become deeply important in her life. Rather than treating her faith as a minor detail, the host presents it as the defining point of the introduction, and everyone immediately understands why. For people who have followed Candace over the past several years, her conversion to Catholicism marked a significant personal milestone. Her confirmation in Italy, which the interview later discusses in greater detail, was clearly meaningful to her and represented an important chapter in her life. According to Candace, that experience influenced not only how she approaches public conversations, but also how she views herself on a personal level. For viewers who mainly remember her earlier career from the Brexit movement to her writing for the post-millennial, this newer chapter may feel very different. Candace herself explains that her perspective has changed over time. She says she no longer allows constant criticism to control her daily life. "I don't pay much attention anymore to what people say about me," she explains.
I'm just not in high school. That's not something that I wake up every day and wonder, does the President of the United States think I'm hot or not? There's something about it like that's just like, okay, he's got a type and he said Brigitte Macron's hotter than me. He's allowed. It's a free country,
Yeah.
That was definitely a moment where I was going, this is
Because if I spent all my time worrying about every opinion, I'd never get a good night's sleep. Not to mention I've got 4 toddlers at home demanding my attention. That simple admission adds another layer to the interview. It shows someone balancing a highly visible public career while also focusing on family life and personal growth, making the rest of the conversation even more engaging. Looking back on that period, Candace says she made a conscious decision to leave it behind. Instead of allowing old chapters to define her, she chose to move forward. She explains that people often expect those experiences to still affect her or assume they'll see signs of insecurity, but that simply isn't the case. She says she knows who she is and doesn't rely on the internet or public opinion to shape her identity. Early on, she admits there were moments when criticism felt frustrating. Like anyone else, hearing things she believed were unfair or inaccurate wasn't easy. But over time, she says that building a meaningful life, strong relationships, and a clear sense of purpose made those outside opinions carry far less weight. She reflects on how different her life was back then. She wasn't married yet.
For a very long time for me to go to Italy and get confirmed, and I just wasn't going to allow that to be a memory. And so I just was like, I'll deal with that when I get back. And such a strange thing to be in a place where you're putting the president of the United States on hold. Everyone, I guess, was waiting for a response, and I was like,
I don't have time for this shit.
that was it. It was, I don't have time for this. I'm really excited, and this is my wedding day, so to speak. And that was that. And then we had a fantastic time in Italy. And then when I got home and the podcast was back on, I was like, okay, now where's the child? Time to address the child. Here,
Didn't have children and felt far less grounded than she does today. Now she says everything has changed. Family, responsibilities, and long-term priorities have given her a stronger foundation. That perspective, she explains, naturally shifts your attention away from daily online arguments and toward what matters most. It's a reminder that major life changes can completely reshape the way people respond to criticism and public attention. The conversation then turns to one of the interview's most talked about moments involving a social media post from President Trump. Candace laughs as she admits she had almost forgotten about it until it was brought up again during the interview. She describes the situation as strange and says it barely stayed on her mind afterward. She also comments on the larger political climate surrounding the moment, suggesting there were far bigger issues dominating public discussion at the time. Against that backdrop, the use of an AI-generated Time magazine cover featuring a podcaster struck her as unusually unexpected.
Shame on you. This is not a good look for you. And I don't have that. I don't wake up every day wondering if the president thinks I'm pretty. That's just not a part of my life.
Well, as many enemies as you have, they give you a lot of attention.
They do.
I think it helps you a lot more than it hurts you, which is pretty cool.
Definitely don't think that a moment like that empowers Trump. That's what I would say. I think it diminishes him in a way. You shouldn't.
The contrast is one of the reasons the story continues to spark conversation. When she finally responded publicly after everything had settled down, her reaction was remarkably calm. Rather than matching the intensity of the online discussion, she answered with a composed and confident tone. That response has since become one of the most memorable moments from the interview because it reflects the approach she says she now tries to maintain. Instead of escalating every disagreement, she prefers to keep her perspective and move on. She even summarizes that entire chapter with a single word: elementary. In her view, the exchange felt more like a personal jab than a meaningful debate. She argues that reducing disagreements to comments about someone's appearance doesn't contribute much to a serious discussion. That's when she delivers one of the interview's standout lines. "I do not wake up every day wondering if the president thinks I am pretty." The remark isn't presented with anger or frustration. Instead, she says it matter-of-factly.
And I shared that photo, by the way.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that photo is real. I shared it early on in politics to talk about, I went through a really tough time when, 2015. I got sick from mold illness, and I never thought I was going to be the same person. It was a leak, an HVAC leak that happened in my building, and it destroyed my insides.
Making it clear that her confidence doesn't depend on anyone else's approval, regardless of their position. The point reaches beyond politics and touches on a broader message about self-worth, confidence, and refusing to let outside opinions determine personal value. She also shares an interesting detail that many viewers may not have known at the time. The photograph that became part of the online discussion wasn't obtained through any hidden source or unexpected discovery. According to Candace, it was a picture she had already shared herself years earlier. She says she intentionally made it public because it represented a difficult period in her life that she had chosen to discuss openly. From her perspective, that changes the entire story. Rather than exposing something private, the image had already been part of her own personal journey and shared on her own terms. Because of that, she says the photograph never had the impact others may have expected. In her view, it's difficult to embarrass someone with something they've already openly acknowledged and discussed themselves. By choosing transparency from the beginning, she believes she removed much of the power that others hoped the image would carry.
Yeah, that photo is real. I shared it early on in politics to talk about, I went through a really tough time when, 2015. I got sick from mold illness, and I never thought I was going to be the same person. It was a leak, an HVAC leak that happened in my building, and it destroyed my insides. I mean, it started what's known as candidiasis growth in my body. Overnight, I felt like my whole life was taken from me. I couldn't think. And if you don't know what toxic mold illness is, it's almost impossible to describe. But I had head to toe overnight eczema. I had never had eczema. Athlete's foot. My eyes were red and just kept pussing. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was happening, why it was happening. My hair fell out. And in the scheme of everything that was going on, the worst part of it, forgetting the physical and not recognizing yourself in the mirror, because I could share worse photos than he shared. I was like, if you want them all, this is actually, I look pretty good relative to what was going on head to toe. But the worst part was my brain. The only way to describe it is you can't think. It's almost like being in a permanent, if you ever had like brain fog, imagine like the most intense brain fog you could ever have. And it just physically exhausted me. So I was just in bed all day, every day. And the only way to beat back that sort of mold illness, they can give you temporary pills, whatever, it's through diet, like the most regimented diet, because sugar is what feeds it. And so it took me a year and I never thought I was going to be able to be myself again. And that was the hardest part, is not being able to think.
That realization adds another layer to the conversation and shifts attention away from the photo itself toward the personal story behind it. That story leads into one of the most serious and personal sections of the interview. Candace describes a period when she says she experienced severe health problems connected to toxic mold exposure. Before hearing her account, many viewers may not have fully understood how disruptive that kind of illness can be. According to her, the problems began after a hidden HVAC leak in her apartment building. She says her health declined rapidly, with symptoms affecting nearly every part of her body. She experienced severe eczema, significant hair loss, persistent eye irritation, and other ongoing physical challenges. But she says the most difficult symptom by far was the intense brain fog. She explains that concentrating became incredibly difficult.
And so I remember just getting on my hands and knees and praying, bargaining really actually with God, which isn't something that you should do. But I was like, I don't even care about the physical stuff. I don't care if my hair never grows back. I don't care if I have these patches all over my face forever, if they never clear up. I don't care if I have athlete's foot once a week. Like, please just let me think. Like, please just clear the cloud in my brain. And I think about it because it was right before I became a public figure. And I just now have the perspective that I was truly humbled, like truly humbled before, and never thought I was going to look the same.
Everyday tasks suddenly felt overwhelming, and work that had once come naturally became a major challenge. She recalls spending long periods confined to her home while trying to recover, alongside following a highly restrictive elimination diet that she says required constant discipline. As she tells it, that chapter became one of the most demanding experiences of her life and ultimately shaped many of the choices she made afterward. During that difficult period, Candace says even fruit was removed from her diet because the natural sugars could interfere with her recovery plan. It wasn't just another food restriction. It reflected how carefully every part of her daily routine had to be managed. To understand why this experience affected her so deeply, it's important to remember what writing, speaking, and thinking clearly meant to her. Those weren't simply professional skills. They were central to how she understood herself. Her ability to communicate ideas had always been one of her greatest strengths. And suddenly, she felt as though that foundation had disappeared. Almost overnight, she found herself wondering whether the mental clarity she once relied on would ever fully return. One of the most emotional moments in the interview comes when she talks about her prayers during that season of uncertainty. Candace describes reaching a point where she felt completely out of options. She says she prayed with complete honesty, focusing on one request above everything else.
Like truly humbled before, and never thought I was going to look the same. And I never even realized how much easier, how much I had relied on being generally good looking, to kind of get through life. I didn't want to see anybody. And I only saw my cousin who still works with me today, and would not go out of the house, and because I was sleeping mostly the whole time anyway. And it was a long process, a very strict diet. Obviously, I had got so skinny because you kind of have to starve it.
Damn.
Yeah, you kind of have to starve it. So anything that has sugar, even fruit, feeds it. But in the retrospect, I learned how to cook everything from scratch. I learned how to eat the best ingredients. I learned about ingredients and I became really passionate about that. I mean, that's why I garden today. So yeah, I was humbled. I was humbled right before I got into the public sphere. And so I actually look back on it quite fondly.
Rather than asking for changes to her appearance or relief from the physical symptoms, she says she prayed for the return of her ability to think clearly. "Please," she recalls praying, "just lift this fog in my brain. Please let me think again. I don't care about anything else. Just give me back my mind." It's a powerful moment because it reveals what mattered most to her when everything else felt uncertain. Hearing someone who is normally so confident and composed speak with that level of openness leaves a lasting impression. For a brief moment, the public image fades into the background, replaced by something much more personal. Regardless of anyone's political views, the fear of losing a part of yourself is something many people can understand. Most of us have experienced moments when we questioned whether life would ever feel normal again after a difficult challenge. Candace shares those memories without dramatizing them or asking for sympathy. Instead, she simply explains what the experience was like from her perspective, allowing viewers to draw their own conclusions. The interview then shifts into another surprisingly honest reflection. Candace acknowledges something that many public figures rarely discuss openly. Looking back, she says she realized she had relied more on her appearance than she had fully recognized at the time. It's an unusually candid observation, especially in an industry where image often carries enormous influence.
Shared it myself. And so I think what happened was a lot of times with his team, they just look for things on the internet and they're trying to be fast and respond, and they didn't know where the source of that photo was, and it was me. I shared it back when I first entered into politics and talked about, a tough time in my life. And I'm still just very proud of it, and gratefully, thank God, I got everything back, not just my brain. My hair came back, my skin cleared, and
Rather than avoiding the topic, she says the experience forced her to reevaluate what truly mattered. According to Candace, that illness humbled her long before she became widely known. She says she experienced losing her health, her confidence, and the mental sharpness she valued so deeply before eventually recovering. Going through that process changed how she viewed success and public attention. By the time she entered the spotlight, she believed she already understood how temporary many outward qualities can be. That perspective, she explains, helped keep her grounded as her career continued to grow. She also suggests that those early struggles shaped the way she approaches public life today. Instead of viewing those hardships only as painful memories, she now sees them as experiences that strengthened her resilience. They gave her a perspective she believes has stayed with her throughout her career. Whether people agree with her views or not, it's clear from this interview that those personal experiences continue to influence how she responds to both praise and criticism.
I was born in New York, in White Plains. That's actually where my mother grew up mostly, and she went to high school there. So a lot of my family's in that area, Rye, White Plains area. And then I went to school and had my formative years in Stamford, Connecticut, which is just kind of outside of the city.
Near the end of this section, the conversation briefly returns to the widely discussed photo connected to President Trump. Candace says the situation was handled poorly, but she also offers a measured explanation for how she believes it happened. In her view, teams working quickly in today's fast-moving online environment sometimes make mistakes because they're rushing to respond. She believes that in this case, the image was used without anyone realizing it had originally been shared by her. Rather than presenting it as something more complicated, she describes it as an example of people acting too quickly without checking the full context first. What stands out is the way she reflects on the situation now. She doesn't come across as someone still dwelling on it or allowing it to dominate her thinking. Instead, she explains why she believes it unfolded the way it did and appears ready to move forward. That approach gives the discussion a calmer tone than many viewers might expect, emphasizing perspective over prolonged conflict. As this chapter of the interview comes to a close, the host shifts toward the story many viewers had been anticipating from the beginning: Candace's early life. The conversation begins tracing her journey back to places like White Plains, New York, and Stamford, exploring the experiences that helped shape the person she would eventually become. It's a transition that sets up an entirely new part of the interview. one that promises even more insight into the events and influences behind her story. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more in-depth discussions, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and let me know which part of the interview stood out to you the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.